Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first official episode of the revamped version of my podcast, It's Not Luck. If you've been around for a while, welcome back and thank you for returning. I have run over, I think, about 120 episodes now of my previous version of the podcast, Greater Freedom, and we are back with a new look, a slightly different angle, but very much similar themes, however, focusing more on success from different walks of life, different individuals, not specifically entrepreneurs and business, although naturally, as a business owner working with business owners, we will of course be covering those topics. But I am back today with the first solo episode. We're going to dive into the success formula and why it's different for everyone. I've got my notes. I've been really thinking about what I want to cover in the first episode, and it comes with an element of pressure, and I will admit some degree of procrastination, so much so that I said to myself, right, we're filming it today. I've got my cup of tea. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see. And if you are listening, yes, this podcast is also available to watch on YouTube. If you want to get more of a 360, more intimate experience where you and I can sit down together. Do let me know where you're tuning in from. I would love to know. I know that I've got listeners all over the world, which is super, super cool. So hello from wherever you are tuning into. But let's dive straight in. So, what is success? What is success to you? Because success isn't luck. So what is it? Like how does one achieve success? What are the components that allow us to create success? And more importantly, how do you define it? And this is something that you're probably going to hear me talk about time and time again on this podcast, but also over on my other channels, is success is so subjective. And I will backtrack a little bit shortly, but I think it's easy when we're growing up to think that success is a set formula. Follow this path, get this job, live in this location, get, a 3-bedroom house, and that will mean that you are successful. And I think we all know, I'm assuming, that that is simply not the case. And it looks different to us all. We often look at successful people and assume that they got lucky, or they had some secret advantage, or they had some, incredible contact that gave them a leg up and, at a click of a finger, they got the success. And of course, there is an element of opportunity. And I think there's that famous notional quote, whatever you want to call it, that says success is where opportunity meets preparation. Or is it opportunity meets luck. And that's what leads to success. And I think to a degree that is true. There is an element of opportunity. However, we create these opportunities by taking action. We find ourselves in these lucky situations because we're putting ourselves out there. We're having conversations. We're showing up daily. We create our own luck. I really do believe that. But if it were true that people just got lucky, then why do so many people follow the traditionally successful path and still feel unfulfilled? People follow this path of going to university, getting a graduate job in the city, working hours and hours and hours each week to gradually get promoted, get that next paycheck, get that slightly bigger office. And I don't know the numbers, but more than 50% of those people will feel unfulfilled. There are so many studies around that. And success isn't a straight line. Success is definitely no one size fits all. It's very, very subjective. So if you haven't already, I really invite you to press pause on this episode and really think about, what does success look like to me? And I'm going to help you do that with some questions further down the line in this episode. But by all means, do it now so that when we're going through this conversation, you've got clarity on what success means to you. And so we're going to be breaking down exactly what leads to success in this episode, and most importantly, how you can define it for yourself. Because it's not until you're clear on what success means to you that you'll truly ever be able to experience those goosebump inducing experiences, successes, realities. And I feel like I need to stop saying the word success because I might drive myself mad. But by the nature of this podcast, unfortunately, that is not the case. So do not be doing drink every time Nicola says the word success, because I think you'll be drunk within 20 minutes. So first up, let's discuss success. Because as I said, success is not a one-size-fits-all formula. We grow up with a conditioned version or conditioned belief of what success is, usually tied to status, money, or external validation. But if that were what true success meant, or how we got to true success, then why do so many people who achieve the big, multiple six-figure salary, have multiple cars, live in insane houses, go on multiple holidays each year that fly business class, have glitzy designer items, and still feel deeply unfulfilled, stuck, lacking a sense of purpose? That's all too common, that people are in these situations that feel a sense of emptiness, because we believe that when we have certain things, we will be successful. When we have a certain amount of money in our bank account, we will feel fulfilled and happy. When we get that next promotion, finally things will click and we'll be able to enjoy life more. These are all false beliefs around success. And this is because success is subjective. And so it's so important to define what success feels like to you and what it looks like to you. And I think the word feels is super important here, because success on paper is one thing. Maybe it's owning your own home. It's being able to go on multiple holidays each year because that's something that fulfills you. It's being able to buy the things that bring you joy and health, organic food and veg delivery, a lovely gym membership, those self-care items. Success is that, but it's also a feeling. Success for me as a feeling is feeling calm, is feeling content, is feeling fulfilled, is feeling purpose-driven in the work that I do. To me, that's as successful and more important than the tangible objects. Don't get me wrong, I am grateful and I'm excited by tangible objects, but I'm not really someone who is materialistic. I'm not bothered about having a designer handbag. I'm not bothered about having, the most expensive items of clothing, let's say. But I absolutely appreciate quality. And I do want to invest in products that are going to last, but it's finding that balance. And it's not saying that one is right or wrong. It's about understanding what it means to you rather than getting caught up on other people's definition of success, chasing after that thing, thinking that that's going to be the answer to X, Y, or Z problems, challenges, feelings of lack or emptiness in your life, only to get there and not having those feelings. So let me give you an example or kind of share a bit of a story from my own life. This is probably 10 years ago now. So I'm 31 at the moment. So when I was around 20, 21, leaving university, I really had no idea what it was that I wanted to do. And I was very caught up in society's definition of success. And since then, my definition has significantly evolved. So back then I thought that having a job in the city, I was applying for these grad schemes for companies that I really had no interest or much knowledge around, but I thought that that would be a symbol of success. And other examples would be commuting into the office into London every day. Having a job in London for me was instantly successful. Having a certain salary was successful. And I wasn't paid particularly well at all in my first few jobs because I wasn't working for a banking firm, a consultancy firm, a law firm. I worked for a luxury travel company, and I ended up working there because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have a clear vision of where I wanted my life to be in 5-10 years time, but I knew that I needed to be earning a salary to be able to afford the life that I wanted, which was mainly around travel. So that's why I thought, do you know what? I know I really enjoy travel, so I'll go and work for a luxury travel company. And I did enjoy it, but it came at a lower salary than probably the majority of my peers who were working in those sort of traditional like banking, finance, law type roles. So since then, my definition of success has evolved, and it's moved away from climbing the corporate ladder to realizing that freedom, impact, fulfillment actually mattered more to me. And luckily, I'm in a place now where I'm doing a job that fulfills me deeply every single day, and I'm getting paid much more lucratively than if I had stayed in my job in marketing and sales that I then transitioned into after doing 3-4 years in the travel industry. So since then, and since starting my business about 5 years ago, even then my definition of success has changed. I thought that success as a business owner was hitting 10K months, was having a sellout launch, was working with as many one-to-one clients as possible. And actually, I achieved those things and at the same time also had massive burnout because I was working super long hours. I had very little boundaries. I wasn't taking lunch breaks. I was really of the belief that the more time I'm sat at my desk, the longer hours I put in, the more successful I will be. And sure, financially, on paper, I did look successful, but I didn't feel successful. I had no time and especially no energy to enjoy the success that I had created in my business. So I was very much of the kind of placing success on this like conditional basis. Once I have earned X, then I will feel successful. Once I have sold out my one-to-one coaching, I will feel fulfilled. And it just doesn't work this way because success is this holistic thing, for lack of a better word, that doesn't just focus on money, but equally doesn't just focus on a feeling necessarily, because we could create a feeling of happiness and that is success to a degree. But then if we haven't got income to be able to live, then is that success? I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation and I would really love your thoughts on it. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment below and we can have a conversation, or send me a DM over on Instagram and we can have this conversation because it's so subjective and there's no right or wrong. And I think that's like the beauty of it and what makes it such an interesting conversation. So success should feel like expansion. It should feel like fulfillment. It should feel like a sense of connection and clarity and purpose, not this feeling of restriction or confinement. So if your current path that you're on isn't exciting you, isn't fulfilling you, then maybe it is a sign of that, it's time to redefine what success looks like to you. Because as I've just given you a very quick glimpse, my definition of success has evolved even over the past couple of years, and it will continue to do that as we grow older, as our priorities change, as our values change, as we evolve as humans as well. So let's look now at the essential components of success, because we now know there's no formula, there's no right or wrong answer, but there are elements that contribute towards success. It's not random, it's not luck, it's not something that we suddenly arrive to. It's built on a number of foundations. And I've broken these down into 4 bullet points, 4 kind of key areas that I think contribute towards success. The first is mindset. So the beliefs that you hold about what's possible are so important to your success because your mindset is what shapes your outcomes. I've said this loads of times before, but it's this belief cycle. So our thoughts and our beliefs impact how we feel. Those feelings will impact the actions that we take, and those actions are going to be reflective of the results that we see in our life. So if we don't believe it's possible, if we believe it's too hard, if we believe it's going to take 10 years, if we believe we need 5 more years of experience before X, Y, and Z, if we believe we're capped at the amount of money we can earn because we're in an industry that is, notoriously underpaid, that is going to impact our results because we're going to feel demotivated, we're going to feel uninspired, we're going to feel, that the odds are stacked against us. And so naturally, we're not going to take as bold actions because we already are coming from a place of doubt. So it's shifting those beliefs. What state is your mindset in at the moment? Is your mindset full of beliefs that are supporting your vision, or are they limiting beliefs? That's the first thing to think about. The second component is your habits and decisions. So it's really thinking about this compounding effect that comes from taking small, consistent actions. These are the things that create the biggest shifts. Yes, okay, the big, bold moves do as well, but consistency and persistency is key. This is why self-discipline is, to me, the biggest trait that is going to contribute to your success, because it will be hard. It will take longer than you expect. It will require showing up on the days that you really don't feel like it. It will require making sacrifices. This is self-discipline. It's the habits, it's the decisions on a regular basis that are going to see you compound results over time, which will lead to the bigger picture, the bigger change, the bigger results. Okay, third up, we have resilience. So success is never about failing. It's about learning, adapting, pivoting, because there will be times where we fail. There will be times when life throws unexpected curveballs and really knock us, that shake us, that make us start questioning everything. So resilience alongside discipline is where in those times when we're not seeing the results, or we get a knock of confidence, or we suddenly have massive setbacks, that we know how to pick ourselves up and move forward. So learning from mistakes, learning from situations, learning from other people, and using that to adapt so that we can keep moving forward. And then the fourth component of kind of what makes up success is self-trust. The ability to back yourself even when other people around you don't see the vision. And this is probably the most important. You know, if we don't have self-belief or self-trust to begin with, we're not going to be taking the action. And those people who, you know, if you think of like the most successful people you know, whether it's famous people, business owners, friends, family, they have got to where they are because they believed in their vision. They believed that the success or the lifestyle or the reality that they knew was possible for them. Despite the odds, despite the disadvantages, despite their life circumstances, they had this like unshakable sense of self-trust to back themselves and get to that point where no wasn't an option. So think about those four components: self-trust, resilience, habits and decisions, and mindset. Where is there opportunity for you to shift up some of those or check in on some of those? You know, maybe there's one of those that you've neglected recently. And so for me, the habits or maybe it's a belief more than anything, that the longer hours I worked, the more successful I'll be, the more money I'll make. That was a belief I had to shake. That was not a supportive belief. And it wasn't in line with the lifestyle that I wanted to live. Sure, I could work 10, 12 hours a day and make more money, but that would take away the enjoyment and fulfillment in my life. And to me, my lifestyle and my day-to-day is as important as like the money I make. The money I make enables me to have the lifestyle I want, but it's, for me, I've structured my business to be able to afford me my lifestyle, not the other way around. So I've made sure to think, okay, what do I want my life to look like? I want to be able to have flexibility to go on last minute city breaks like I'm doing on Sunday. Well, by the time this episode will come out, I'll be in Barcelona. So on Sunday, I flew to Barcelona. I'm here now when you're listening to this, and I'm here for 3 days because I can. I've got that flexibility. I want to be able to have my own time during the week so that I can do a midweek Pilates class. I can go for a walk in the park when it's sunny. I can work in coffee shops or hotel lobbies or rooftops. You know, I don't have to be tied to my desk. And I've made sure that I can make sales when I'm in any location, as long as I've got Wi-Fi. I don't need to be behind my laptop. So I shifted those beliefs around what was possible. I created new beliefs that I get to make money and have fun and rest at the same time. I get to work with dream clients who are willing to pay me $5,000, $6,000 to work with me. I know that's possible. I see it. I mean, I've done it multiple times. So there was a belief before that I couldn't charge that much money, that there was no one out there that would invest that much in themselves. I've disproved that because I changed my beliefs. So the other thing that actually comes to mind, which contributed to my burnout, so I'm saying it in case you're in this situation now, I had this belief that the more strategies I earned, the more courses I signed up to, the more workshops I joined, the easier it would be for me to sign clients. That's simply not the case. I'm going to bet that you have incredible amount of knowledge and expertise and experience right now. You don't need to consume more. You don't need to do more to earn more or to sign more clients. It's often about doing less, but doubling down on the thing that you know makes the biggest difference and that you've seen success in previously. So that's something that I 100% shifted, and I gave myself a rule that I wasn't going to be downloading more courses. I wasn't going to be consuming more, because actually overconsumption, not only does that stagnate your creativity, but it then means that you have no space for your own original thoughts and beliefs, which is so important, regardless of whether you're a business owner or you work in a corporate. Showing up as a thought leader with original opinions and your own voice is not only how you build your own brand, but it's how you build up trust, recognizability, visibility, and you really develop your own brand. And that's so important for success. So the takeaway here really is, instead of chasing someone else's formula or trying to find this magic formula online, focus on building your own foundation for success. What skills, habits, mindset shifts are actually going to serve you and help you get closer to your goals. Create your new set of beliefs. It's such a fun exercise. Write them down every morning. Affirmations, mantras are such a amazing way to rewire your mind in a very short space of time if you do it consistently. It's part of my morning routine. I'm always journaling in the morning, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes if I'm, really in a flow. And part of that journaling are writing mantras and affirmations and just allowing it's almost like a subconscious flow of just these positive, empowering, fulfilling, exciting mantras about the success and the life that I'm building. Okay, let's move on to getting really clear on your definition of success. And this is quite a practical part of the episode. So feel free to pause, write these questions down. I will also leave them in the description of the episode so that you can come back to them. But these are 3 questions I want you to ask yourself. What actually makes me feel successful? Forget about what looks good on paper or like the shiny objects or the kind of traditional metrics of success. What makes you feel successful? Maybe it's the location you're in. It's the people you're surrounded by. It's your energy. It's your mindset. It's your day-to-day. Like, what does that look like? I think this is such a juicy question because you can really get granular with the detail. And I'd say the more detail, the better. Okay, second question. What part of my life already feel aligned? And what needs to shift? So what's flowing well? Where do you feel aligned? Where do you feel excited, expanded, inspired, fulfilled? But also what needs to shift? Where does there feel resistance? Where do things feel a bit sticky? Where do you feel like you're doing things because you feel like you should, not because you want to? And maybe not all of these can change right now, but the main thing is having awareness, because then you can start to make changes. Okay, and finally, to help you shape your definition of success, the question is, if I stopped chasing external validation, what would I really want? So imagine there was no judgment. There was no one ever commenting. There was no society says this equals success. And actually you just living completely on your terms. What would you really want? Where would you be living? What job would you be doing? What would your weeks look like? How would you spend your free time? All of those things. What would that look like? Paint this picture, get descriptive, write your dream ideal life. Lifestyle design is something that I don't speak about that much on my socials, but it's something that I'm often thinking about. And I work with clients a lot with as well, designing your dream life, because we get to do that. We have full ability to do that. I don't care what anyone says. There is always the option to design your life in a more intentional way, if at the moment there's misalignment. So write down your success formula. Write down the mindset shifts you need to take, the daily habits that are going to support you to get there, the version of success that excites you, not the one that you feel will look good to others. And let's start making it happen. Success isn't a point in the future. Success isn't something that we suddenly arrive at after 30 days of being consistent with our mindset habits. It's something that we intentionally build. And the sooner you can define your definition of success, the sooner you can start creating intentional changes that are going to allow you to create this life that truly, truly fulfills you. So I'd love to hear from you. You know, what is your definition of success? Leave it in the comments. Send me a message on Instagram. What does it look like to you? Because I love hearing other people's definition of success. Not only is it inspiration for myself, but it helps remind me that we're all after something different. And that's when, going off on a bit of a tangent, like comparison is such a waste of our time, because we're all wanting different things. We're all going after a different objective. We're all wanting, we all prioritize and value so many varieties of things. So drop the this is what success looks like, drop the this is what I need to be successful, and turn inwards and say, what would feel super successful to me? What would make me feel proud? What would fulfill me and really give me that sense of purpose and energy? And let's start making that happen. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts on success. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode as well. And if you enjoyed the podcast or the episode, the conversation, make sure you're subscribed. Episodes will be coming every Tuesday, and there will be a mixture of solo and guest episodes. So if there's anyone that you want to hear on the podcast, send them my way. Send me a message and I'll try and make it happen. And let's make shouting about success cool again. Let's make it acceptable or more normalized to celebrate what we're doing well, to own our successes. I'm really on this mission to make it cool to own our success again. And it starts here in this conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you are following me over on Instagram at Nicola Charlotte Coaching. And if you want to watch this episode on YouTube, it's at Nicola Charlotte, I believe. But if you can't find it, send me a message. Otherwise, have a gorgeous rest of your day. Sending you so much love and sending you so much success, because it's an exciting journey that we are now all embarking on.